Choosing a film to review this time around was hard because after looking at the listings over the past few weeks, it slowly started to look like a collection of things I simply couldn't give a fuck about. There was Les Mis, which after seeing the trailer looked about as musically inspiring as grabbing an out-of-tune violin and beating yourself over the face with it. There was The Life of Pi, which again, judging by its trailer, looks like I'd have much more fun if I stole a boat, kidnapped a guy and his pet and threw all three in the nearest lake and held them at fucking gunpoint for 127 minutes. Long story short, I'm reviewing Texas Chainsaw 3D. Actually, I'm not. This movie is so fucking awful that one might say I'm going to massacre Texas Chainsaw. Haha, see what I did there? Because of the... Never mind. So we are in Texas, it's 1974 and the locals have had it with the Sawyer family, so they decide to burn down their house with all of them inside it. Surviving this act of arson is a baby that was promptly found by two townsmen and they raise her as their own. 2012 hits and 40-year-old Edith Sawyer, at this time known as Heather Miller, is notified that her grandmother is dead. She has been left everything and she was adopted. So her and a load of typical horror movie support cast, i.e. her slutty friend, a black guy and a twat, travel to Texas to check out the house she just inherited. Of course, what Heather didn't realise is that a part of her inheritance is Ed Gein wannabe Leatherface who wants to put saw to flesh more than Tara Reid wants to put cum on face. The main problem I have with this film is numbers. The first number is 1974, the year that the film said it was set, also confirmed by the new one in its trailer. The other number is 2012, the year that the film says it's set in via Heather's grandmother's grave. That's a difference of 38 years, so why haven't any of the townspeople who were at the house burning in 1974 barely aged at all? Why doesn't Heather look even close to being the 40-year-old she is meant to be, and why am I complaining that the director cast a hot bitch instead of a wrinkly mess? Speaking of numbers, I would sure love to have the phone number of Leatherface's drug dealer, because for a man who is at least 60 years old, he moves around like a coked up Speedy Gonzales. It's either that or the Texan diet of religion, tobacco, whiskey, guns and intolerance provides you with great self-preservation. I'd try it myself, but I'd be way too afraid of becoming one of them. The numbers thing aside, it's still shit. It feels like the film has thrown good acting, dialogue, narrative and the idea of making sense to the fucking wind in the name of special effects in 3D, which also aren't very good. The 3D moments are few and far between. The killings are about as fresh as a vagina on the last day of a festival, and there was one bit where Leatherface chopped someone in half, which would have looked more realistic if they replaced him with a crash test dummy and stapled a picture of the actor's face on it. To conclude, this film is the ultimate definition of phoning it in. Hardcore Massacre fans are going to watch this no matter what, and you will be disappointed by the end of it. Don't say you weren't warned. But if you want to simulate the experience, all you have to do is mount a chainsaw in front of your face, place a past-it murderer with some awful attempts at acting in the background for 90 generic minutes, and you're pretty much there. Or as I like to call it, a pre-prep for a wank.